Lose emotions.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Good morning to all of you. I see you, Deborah Johnson. You and Felicia Williams were in the chat early. Thank you so much. I see you, Adrian. Good morning to you. Shirley Nicholson. Good morning to you. I was hopefully you saw my replies where you were watching the replay earlier this week. What's up, Regina Short? Y'all come on in here today. Listen, if you know anyone who's dealing with anxiety or mental health issues or anything like that, tell them to tune in because we have Davia Williams Stevenson who's going to be joining us in just a few short moments. And she's going to help us get through some things. I see my girl up in here. What's up, Latrice Jones? What's up? So good to see you this morning. But y'all, a lot is unfolding. And yesterday, as you know, we had our, I guess it's the recorded first school shooting. And it's the deadliest school shooting in Georgia to date. So a lot with that. And then also we had the political people coming out, jockeying for who's going to say what and gun reform. So all of that can create a level of anxiety. So if you know anyone that's out there dealing with whatever, and they may think that it's not associated with politics in this general election cycle, it may be. So you want to tell them to come on and hang out with us. I see you, Yvonne Gardner, come on in here. I see my brother in here. What's up? Come on in the room, y'all. Come on in the room. Y'all, today is Thursday. It is Thursday, September the 5th, 2024. I see you, Kim Edmondson. I am your host, Gail Dudley. Welcome, everyone. I have an apology to make. I did not realize, again, we are without Isaiah, and, we've been posting the image up and just really thanking him and the blessings that you all have been just sharing in the chat about how much you're blessing him as this young man is flying, doing what he's doing in his life and how he's being called in this season. I totally forgot to include the podcast, people. So I'm now relearning all of the boards and everything. So podcast people, audio listeners, good morning to you. Y'all were letting me know. Y'all were like, hey, we can't hear you. We can't find you. Well, now you're on here. So I just wanted to say thank you. And thank you for letting me know that y'all were like out there looking and I wasn't around. All right, y'all, next week, this is very important. Next week, please know, as I indicated earlier this week, we will not be on the air next week. We will not be on the air next week. But we are, in fact, partnering, and Reverend Holmes just sent me all the information. We are partnering with Reverend Derek Holmes in the Union Grove Baptist Church in Columbus, Ohio, for their debate watch party that will take place on Tuesday, September the 10th. Now, the link will be available in tomorrow's Friday Rundown. It's in tomorrow's Friday Rundown. The link to join, the Zoom link, all of that. The time that they're going to be getting started. Now, if you are not a subscriber to the Friday Rundown after the show, go to www.gaildudley.com and subscribe. A pop-up box will come up. You put your name and your email address in, and that's it. I see you, Hester. So do that. News in Motion will return on Tuesday, September the 17th for National Voter Registration Day, and we'll be on location live, bringing News in Motion from Kennedy Cakes in downtown Columbus. And then on Wednesday, September the 18th, we will have a special guest from Girls Right Now out of New York City talking about voter registration. I will also be a part of their program on September the 19th in the evening. You don't want to miss that. Y'all, I'm going to be in a lineup with some celebrities. Can y'all believe that? So that's happening. And then on Thursday, September the 19th, we will have our high school ambassador, Lexi Williams, talking about how to encourage young people to register to vote. So we have a lot going on. We have a lot planned coming your way. So just hang out with us. I see you, Dr. Antoinette. Good morning to you. All right, y'all, be sure to follow our News in Motion Facebook page for ongoing news headlines and updates. And then also, if you're interested, subscribe to my writing platform on Medium for all of my latest articles. All right, got all that out the way. Let's talk about some news. So as I indicated earlier, there was a school shooting in Georgia. I see you, Marion. A 14-year-old shooter killed 4 people, 2 students and 2 teachers, and wounded at least 9 others at Apache High School in Winder, Georgia. I see you, Judy New. Y'all banging up in here. I love it. Roughly 50 miles northeast of Atlanta. The attack is the deadliest school shooting in Georgia's history. As things are unfolding, the FBI indicated that they had a similar warning in 2023 with the same student. At that point, he was 13 years old. So a lot of that is still unfolding. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation says the shooter will be charged with murder and tried as an adult. Y'all, this attack happened before 10:20 a.m. Eastern time. There's no school today or tomorrow in Barrow County schools. Also, y'all, ABC News is reporting. Look, y'all think President Joe Biden, just because he stepped aside, he's not doing anything? Homeboy came out with his sunglasses on, talking about how he's preparing to block Japanese-based Nippon Steel 14.9 billion purchase of U.S. steel. He's like, we ain't doing that. According to reports on yesterday, U.S. Steel shares closed down to 17.5%. On the news. This is coming out of ABC News. Now, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States is currently evaluating the national security implications of the merger, which was actually announced last year. So the United Steelworkers Unions opposes it, maintaining a 123-year-old company formed by U.S. business icons, including Andrew Carnegie and J.P. Morgan, which will remain U.S. owned and operated. So a lot of that is still unfolding. So stay tuned. But Joe said that ain't happening. Yeah, the U.S. Department accuses Russian state media network of $10 million election interference campaign. Now, y'all be careful out there trying to be influencers and responding to people's calls, because you don't know who may be calling you and how they may be using you. Y'all, this is in an effort to recruit U.S. social media influencers. Yeah, the DOJ indicted 2 employees and seized 32 internet domains. Say, what? That's happening, y'all. That's happening. Y'all, and if it can't get any better than this, this was great news. This was really all the news I was going to give you, because I want to give all the other time to Davia to talk about our mental health and how to protect it. This was probably the most important outside of this school shooting. Washington Post was the first to report this, y'all. Republican Liz Cheney, you could have never told me this was going to happen, says she will vote for Vice President Kamala Harris in this election. In her quote, she says, because of the danger that Donald Trump poses, not only am I not voting for Donald Trump, but I will be voting for Kamala Harris. And she made this announcement yesterday at Duke University. And if it doesn't get any better than that, we also have John McCain's son, the late Senator John McCain's son, who came out and also said, he changed from a Republican. He actually changed his voter registration from being a Republican to a Democrat, and said in his full dress, in service dress, that he was voting for VP Kamala Harris. So all of that's happening. I want to hear what y'all think in the chat. Let me know. Latrice, it's so good to see you, girl. Let me know in the chat what you all are thinking. For those of you who are asking me again about Everbloom, it's still unfolding. It is still unfolding, but I'm so excited about it. God gave this to me in a dream over the summer, and each night is like he's been taking another petal is opening. It was a seed, and now the flower is starting to bloom. But it is so me. It is so me. And I was like, God, you are amazing. So one of the first things we're going to be doing will be happening next Sunday, September the 15th. This will also be in the Friday rundown. It will also be in the Friday rundown. And it's called Her Trading is Profitable, where I'm going to do a foundational training. It's going to be about 90 minutes to 2 hours of foundational training, just giving you the definitions to get an understanding before you go out here and try to enter into these investments. Like, we're unfolding. We are blooming. We are ever blooming. So check that out. If you can, again, I'll be in the Friday rundown so you can get more information on that. All right, y'all. With that being said, today is September the 5th. And today we're going to talk about protecting our mental health during this presidential election cycle. Now, Y'all know my thoughts of Davia. We met, I don't even know, 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago. You would have thought that we have been friends forever. She is a professional clinical counselor, a life coach, a podcaster, an author, a wife, a mother, a philanthropist. She's just brilliant. I'll leave it at that. Brilliant. She is a author. This book, her first book, came out a couple of weeks ago. It is called A Month of Sundays, Elevating Self-Care to Soul Care. Read it. I read it. I was fortunate. I had an advance copy. Woo-hoo. But listen, this is amazing. It's amazing. You want to read it. You want to read it. This is great fall reading. Cozy up on your sofa, get a blanket, have your tea, your mimosa, your coffee, be in front of the fire, be outside on your patio in front of a fire pit, and read this book. I'm telling you, it is life changing. It's life changing. And with that, I'm going to bring her into the screen. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, lady. Good morning. We were chatting early about how I am not a morning person. I'm not exactly sure when that changed. When I was in college, I was the one that would take like the 7:38 class and be done by noon. But now I'm like not too early or too late. I was that age. I don't know what that is, but
Hey, I love it though. And you're up.
I love you, and I got up early enough to know my name and stand up straight and make my coffee. So hopefully this will make sense to y'all.
It's gonna make plenty of sense. It's gonna make plenty of sense. Before we get into the questions for today, talking about protecting our mental health, please tell the audience about your book and where they can get it. Again, it's phenomenal. Great reading, especially in this season and
Thank
where we
you.
are.
Thank you. I'm really excited and humbled. And of course, you know how you are with your own stuff. It's been very convicting to me to practice what I preach. I was having a whole moment in like boundaries. Oh, snap. Like the things I help people with actually help, and I might should practice. I could hear my mother. My mother just in the back of my head, and she's very sassy. I could see her sitting back with her Virginia Slim with her little tiny way saying, she would use other words. You know that S works, right? So how about you give it a try? So a month of Sundays, Gail, you talked about how Everbloom was given to you in a dream. Well, a month of Sundays was to me as well. I've always known I wanted to write some books, but this was not in it. This was not something I thought about doing. And the phrase a month of Sundays, though I now know is a very common phrase, I'd never heard it. I woke up with that on my mind. I wrote it down, and then I later researched it to see, what is this? Is this something? If this is a book, Lord, do I need to pay for the title? Like, what is it? And so I love a month of Sundays. For those of you who don't know that phrase, it's used to express distance. Like, I haven't seen you in a month of Sundays.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of us are disconnected to who we really are. You haven't seen yourself in a long, long time. And when we talk about self-care, oftentimes we talk about taking vacations and doing baths and getting our nails done and all that. I'm like, do it. Do all the things you are privileged to do. But if you really want to take care of yourself, if you really want to take care of your soul, you're going to lean into the things you've been avoiding. You're going to look at boundaries. You're going to not be afraid of the pain of moving through grief or loss. You're going to look for places, be open for new places for inspiration, all those types of things. You're going to look at your priorities. And those are the things that I talk about. And I believe that we live our lives in 5 domains: physical, mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual domains. And so in this book, I through those 5 domains, I have some categories for you to read through. Each little section is short. This is not really a novel kind of book. As you can look at them, you can pick a topic that seems to relate to you, like, ooh, forgiveness, I got some issues, let me read about that. Or what have you, right? So I hope it's a resource that you can go back to, that you can share. There are questions at the end of each chapter for you to consider to help you process your own stuff. It's a touch, a catalyst. This is not therapy, but you'll get a feeling of what a therapy session is like with me. Lots of stories, sometimes too many of my own. I've been accused of being an oversharer, so you're going to learn a lot about my stuff in this place. But other things I've worked through, thank the Lord, I've had my own therapy and whatnot, so I'm not getting my therapy out on you as you read this book. But stories from that are kind of conglomerate, told you this early, common issues that clients have brought to me. Some stories that I've asked people specifically, may I share? I'm a storyteller. And I think that's how we learn, when we look at how real people deal with real things, because that's what we are, right? We've got
I
to,
agree with that.
yeah, we've got to remember that we're a people, that we're a person that we need to put on our list of priorities, and that it is not selfish. It is essential, right? Ourselves, our personal, our mental health, our relational health, we allow those things to we put them to the wayside when pressure hits. And how do we show up for ourselves in our roles for our people if we're not fortified? And so that's the challenge that I encourage you to take on in this book, that I take on the daily. Some days I win, some days I don't.
Well, let me say your stories are phenomenal. You've heard me tell you that. I was like, no, it was a great balance of it. But I do want to go here before I go to the first question, because this one keeps hitting me on page 107, where it talks about perseverance and self-care. Caring for yourself while persevering requires that you be cognizant of your physical and emotional needs. This includes knowing when something becomes too much, when to take a break, making room to grieve losses, and rebounding when things don't go as planned. This really hit me because this is what I do now that I take breaks in the summer. And it's like, yes, you have to know when something's become too much, when to take a break. So this one is like my go-to as a reminder, like, I can take a break.
So, yeah, one of the things I love about the breaks that you take, it takes courage, particularly when you're in a space in the public eye, in this quick news cycle, this quick, Instagram world, to step away when you're not putting content out constantly. That takes courage to take care of yourself, to put yourself on that priority list. Takes courage. And for many, I would say, particularly women, and some may call me on that, we are socialized and we are trained to put others first. That's fine. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. God wants us to do those things, right? But he created you as an individual, and you need to return to him. Like, my goal in life at this time, and what I want to encourage you to do, is when your days are done, and they will be at some point, unfortunately, like these children, some are too soon. Some of us don't get all the days that we want to have, or that we expect to have, right? But whatever days you have, you want to return back to your maker as the person he created you to be.
Amen. Amen. Well, now y'all got a little just sneak peek into the book. We want to get into this conversation today about protecting our mental health during this election cycle. And man, oh man, there's lots going on. So before we jump in with the first question with this, can you just tell the viewers a little bit about your clinical counseling background and what experiences have shaped your approach to therapy and to helping people realize and dig deep on the inside? So what could be going on and how they should take a step back? Because in this election cycle, people are burned out already.
I tell you, Pastor Holmes yesterday talked about the fatigue. This is an interminable election cycle, and that's true. What motivated me? I came to this profession later in life. I've got a very curvilinear career path, lots of starts and stops and curves and whatnot, and I used to judge myself for that, but now I'm like, just part of my charm. All experiences are useful. But I was a stay-at-home mom for almost 20 years. And through a process of knowing there was more to do, kind of seeing how I am in relationship with others, and the encouragement of folks who pay attention. You never know who's paying attention to you and can speak into your life. I decided to pursue clinical counseling, and I wanted to do it in a way that integrated my faith. I didn't want to become a counselor, then add my faith on top. I wanted to be integrated. So I went to Ashland Theological Seminary and got my master's in clinical counseling. I did that. I was in my 40s when I did that. My youngest was starting his freshman year in high school. So I brought also quite an interesting, for me at least, I think to many, background in terms of my own personal story. I wanted God to be able to use my story to encourage other people. And I wanted to do it in a way that was authentic, but also trained. I wanted to, right? I'm made for it. I'm made
You
for it.
are.
I am made for it. I am made to. People say, how do you hold all these stories? Don't you get depressed? I don't. I'm made for it.
Yeah.
And it is something like you're talking about your ever. It is something as you begin to embrace that, find out who you are and embrace who you are, and grow in that space. I love the title, Ever Bloom, because we should always be discovering and learning. You don't know who you are next year or 5 years down the road. Hopefully, you're growing and evolving, and you embrace that as part of your journey.
Absolutely. And yes, you are made for this, most definitely. And all right, people in the chat, y'all know y'all need to be communicating with us. I may be asking questions, but we want to hear y'all's feedback as well. So let's jump in here. I want to start with practical steps. What practical steps can those of us, even if we're not registered voters, although I'm begging everyone who's of age to become a registered voter, to take to create healthy boundaries? We got the political news, we have the commercials, we have social media, we have conversations in stores, we have paraphernalia that people are wearing. I mean, it's just all over the place. What practical steps can we take to create healthy boundaries in this election cycle?
So let's start with the foundation, right?
Okay.
The things that help us to maintain our mental health are rarely, cute tips and tricks. They really are.
Yeah.
Start with the physical. I talked about the 5 domains that start with the physical. You can't make good decisions on a depleted foundation. Get some rest.
Say that again.
You can't make good decisions on a depleted foundation.
Wow.
So get some rest. And okay, when am I going to rest? In my spare time? Well, then your life is upside down. That is your boundary issue. We can't even deal with the political stuff if you can't deal with with the physical. We start with getting some rest. And what do adults do? They stop having a bedtime routine. I have a 3-year-old granddaughter, and there's a whole process to get little one to calm down and know that it's bedtime and it's story time, right? We know that instinctively. Anyone who has raised children or been involved in young children's lives, you prepare them for bed. We need to do the same for ourselves. Prepare ourselves to end the day, and we prepare ourselves to wake for the day.
But we have this.
We do have that. And I too am guilty of waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning and scrolling on Instagram, and I fall off. We're not talking about a perfect life, y'all. We're talking about aspirations, plans, rituals that we do well. When we do them well, we experience the benefit. When we fall off, it usually takes some time to realize, oh, I'm anxious because I didn't blah, 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 blah. Let me get back to my routine, right? So put yourselves to bed. Think about a way that gives you some signals your brain that it's time to go to bed. I highly do not recommend watching TV and falling asleep to the TV. And so many of us do that. There's a lot of studies. You don't have to take my word for it about what that light does to your rhythms, to your circadian rhythm. Drink water. I say also drink coffee because that's my preference.
There's actually water in here this morning.
There you go. But I drink water before I get out of bed. I drink water first. So drink water during the day and get oxygen. Breathing deeply or moving your body. That doesn't sound like a mental health strategy. It is a health strategy. We start with the physical. If you were my client, and hopefully if you go to any therapist or coach, we start with, when was the last time you had a physical? How are you sleeping? When you are anxious or depressed, those are the places that are going to show up. You're going to have sleep disturbance. You're going to have issues with how you eat. You're going to have issues. Right? Start with the physical. So before we even get to what's going on in the political, maybe not the first thing you do in the morning is pick up your phone. Maybe the first thing you do in the morning is breathe deeply, drink some sips of water, go to the bathroom, take a stretch. And then if you want to turn on the TV or look at your phone or check your email, then you do that. But let's not roll over and do that in the morning, right?
I love that.
Yeah, you're not prepared to digest, to make selections as to what you can take in.
Yeah, Kim says she's guilty.
I am too, Kim. Sometimes I am too. Absolutely. It is the world we live in. It is the world we live in. But we can make choices. We can make choices more than not. Nobody lives a perfect life. But if you can start with, 50-50. I used to pick it up every morning, but now I pick it up every other morning. Or I used to just small steps. People want to discount small steps. Small steps matter. In terms of what we take in this political space, I often say in most things, the truth is in the tension. The tension between the need to be informed, the responsibility to be informed. I think there's a responsibility we carry as adults to be informed, and the need to manage that which is overwhelming. When we feel overwhelmed, and a lot of us are in this space with the things that are at stake with this particular election, we feel powerless. That's where despair comes in. We feel powerless. Yeah. So I'm going to use Michelle Obama's word. So then we do something. We do something. The first thing we do is we make sure we're taking care of our bodies so that our minds have a chance to think clearly. Then another thing we do is we choose what steps we can employ, we can put in our lives that will allow us to have a say, allow us to exert some manner of control in some places, right? And so maybe your life is such that, and I hope you would cut out space, make room for the short term to really engage the political process, but everybody can't.
Yeah.
Everybody can't. And that's okay. If your life doesn't allow you to canvass, your life will allow you to register to vote. They make it easy. You can do a QR code. You can do it online. You can.
Yeah.
You can. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. But I think this follows up with what you're saying. So how do we literally manage our feelings of overwhelm or anxiety? Mm-hmm. This election cycle, it is constant. It's everywhere we turn.
It is.
And yesterday I was just listening to some of the commentary after the shooting in Georgia, and the frustration of people, like people, even some of the reporters, just seemed like they wanted to weep.
Yeah.
And there was one in the White House press room that says this is just too much. Yeah. Can we ever step away from this? And if so, how do we do that? Because then we have FOMO. We have the fear of missing out.
Yesterday, Wednesdays are my day with my granddaughter. And I saw the alerts on my phone. I had a moment to make a phone call. And so, have you been watching this stuff on Georgia? I'm like, no, I haven't. That doesn't mean, right? More than one thing can be true. That I am not frustrated, that I am not heartbroken for these families who, you drop your kid off to school. Like, how many times does this have to happen? Teachers, they may have families, they may have, it is too much. But I chose not to engage it yesterday. I chose to spend that day with my granddaughter. And later in the day, after I got some other things done, I turned on the TV. Then I watched some coverage, enough coverage to understand what was going on. I didn't need to watch it ad nauseum. This is a place where part of that anxiety, because what can we do? In the moment, we can't do anything for those families. We can't do anything for the students of that school or that community, not in the moment. So it's not selfish to say that, well, those people that are experiencing it can't get a break from the pain that they're currently experiencing, and I can't just watch it on TV.
Yeah.
True, but that's not your life.
Yeah.
And if you want to be in a position to make a change, then you've got to be fortified. It's okay to be informed, but not be overwhelmed. That's what I chose yesterday. That's what I hope you can choose.
That's beautiful. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's the tension. I think we want to be the way we receive communication, the way the discourse is in this country, and I see it filtering down to how people are doing their relationships or conversations with individuals. We're so polarized. We feel like we have to be all this or all that. And that is not true. Nothing is everything all the time. Nothing is. And the majority of the people are somewhere around the middle. I posit, I don't have specific data, but I imagine that much of what we hear comes from the outer, let's say at best, 10%. Most people, 80% of folks, are somewhere around the middle, moving in and out. But the noise The noise, what we hear are these people over here talking about these people over here, and these people over here talking about these people over here, and we don't even hear what they say about themselves. And this seems like this is the perspective, so you get forced into one camp or the other. You don't have to do that. Yeah. Recognize the game.
So, and I love that, recognize the game. So it kind of like started Monday or the weekend, where families are gathering. We're getting into that season of different holidays and gatherings, football parties, Thanksgiving, those who celebrate Halloween. Then you have Christmas, it should be over. But we have these things, even Thanksgiving, it should be over. But we have these different things where we're coming together. Who knows? It may not be over and they still may be fighting. So we want to express ourselves. But we also want to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
If we don't say anything, now we're dealing with you silence me. If we do say something, we could be opening ourselves up for an argument. Then we're walking away with our heart broken or mental anguish or whatever. And I've been in these circles. It's like, wow, I had no idea that these were your politics. Now I'm not sure how I'm going to remain friends with you. How do we get beyond all of that? Is it a self issue? Is it a community issue? How do we break through and balance all of this? Because I thought 2020 was crazy, or even 2016. It seems like it's intensifying every 4 years.
Yeah.
But I want to protect myself. People are saying they don't want to hear it anymore. They want to protect themselves. They don't want to be seen as silenced, or they don't want to get into arguments. We're kind of like just going back and forth on this roller coaster, and we're all about to crumble. How do we hang in there?
I believe I have a family, some of my family members, we're in very, very different camps and are very passionate about those different camps. And I'm often the person who hosts the larger family. First of all, I love it. I love it. I love my family. They are the most incredible, talented, God-fearing people. And we are verbal and we are in different spaces. But when you come to my house, the rules of engagement are we focus on that which we have in common.
I like that.
Those things we can't do. Not on the family gathering. Now, if we want to have individual conversations where we will engage the political discourse, those places where we are in opposite spaces, we can do that. But let's keep the main thing. Why are we gathering for this holiday? Because we want to be together. And we want to celebrate family. And we want to praise God. And we want to enjoy our music and all of those kinds of things and some good food that we don't eat on the regular, right? So let's keep the main thing. I don't think that's ignoring the fact that we have differences. Like I always say, when you have to have an awkward conversation or painful conversation, pull it out. This is awkward. Yeah. And this is painful. Acknowledge that. And in this space, we don't have a capacity, nor is it our goal to do this in this space. What do we have in common? Is everybody registered to vote? Does anybody need to check their registration? We have that in common. We have in common a desire to have our voices heard in this political season. Then that's good. I, at Thanksgiving dinner, don't need to hear your voice on this.
Right.
We'll take that to the side. And I find that when you're able to focus, listen, this is growth for me. As a recovering people pleaser, I've always said. I also come from a family that often had lots of business things to promote at their. And I said, we will support one another, but that's not why we're here. We're not doing that today. You're not pitching your product here today. And so I think that's the case. I think also our relationships that will change and dissipate. I have lost some folks that, and I'm not sure I call it losses anymore, but that used to be a larger part of my life, that some philosophies just can no longer meld. And so it's okay. People are in your life for a reason, a season, a lesson. Yeah. Some don't have to stay. And that's going to be okay.
Yeah. Audience, y'all have questions? I do have one that came in through the podcast. I don't know how you doing that when you're supposed to be driving. Maybe you stay still somewhere. And by the way, Dave, just so that you know, there are 722 people on the audio side.
Wow.
So yeah, this question comes in. I want to make sure I read this correctly. On the job. I'm stressed out on the job. I'm of one political party. I would say the majority of our team is a different political party, and I hear it all day long.
Yes.
I would prefer to work remotely, but have chosen to come into work and take a stand. But it's beating me down every day. By the time I get home, I am completely exhausted, have no time or patience for my 3 little ones or my spouse. How do I handle that?
Mm-hmm. So you said you have a choice whether to come in or not come in. You hear this, for you, it feels like combative, vitriol all day long. Are these people that can be convinced?
That's a good question. And yes, they do have a choice to come in or to either stay home or come in.
Take this clue from some of the political strategists. Focus on those who are convincible.
Mm.
If you're going in just to take a stand, and for to what end? These people are not convincible, and it is tearing you down such that you're not available for your priorities. You don't have to do that. That's not for you to do.
Yeah, I like that.
Job and a paycheck to take care of the people that you go home to. And if there's a space where there's the possibility for civil, open discourse, where maybe there's some give and take, then okay, it might be worth that for you. But if it's beating you down, put yourself on the list.
Yeah, they said thank you. So
yeah.
Wow. I have another question. I see our time is going. We could do this all day long, but and I don't know if you have this information or not, but are there specific groups or demographics more vulnerable to the election-related mental health issues? If so, whom and why?
Oh, wow. That is
I kept thinking, like, is it a black-white thing? And I don't think that's what it is. So that's why I put this question together.
If I answer that is purely conjecture. I don't have any information, any data on that. But I would imagine vulnerable to, Esther, what are they vulnerable to?
Vulnerable to election-related mental health issues.
Yeah. I would think it would be those who feel like they have the most to lose, who are concerned. And I don't, and that's a personal. I don't know from a demographic space. I wish I could give you good answers on that. I do want to say this because I know that our time is moving. September is Suicide Awareness Month, and I don't know if many of you have, or most people have experienced somewhere along the line someone who has died by suicide. Right? You were in high school, and it is rarely who you think it's going to be. It is often that person who seems popular, who seems this, because when you're in despair, when you live with a level of depression that can lead you to a decision. Remember, when a person dies by suicide, they have decided it's the best option. And so when you get to that space, generally they look fine. Remember Miss America. Remember Robin Williams. All these folks. Check on your strong people. And don't put yourself in this position like the person that wrote in, I go in and feel beat down every day. Don't get beat down every day. You don't have to choose that. Do something. Go in to the voting booth or send in that's something you can do. Do something for yourself to fortify yourself so that you're able to carry out the roles that you're so blessed to
that's true.
Embody. But to beat your head against a brick wall, focus on places where you can have influence. The time.
Yeah. What's the number for the suicide prevention? Is it
988?
988.
988.
I kept wanting to say 911. I know that wasn't it, but 988.
It's a brilliant invention. 988.
And how can people, like, if someone who's having, since you brought this up, let's go here. Someone who may be having suicidal thoughts, but they're around an abusive person and they can't really make that call. Anything else they can do?
Oh my goodness, that's a That's a layered question. Um, I'm trying to answer it in a way that's generally speaking, because everybody's story is a little bit different. I've been privileged to be invited into those places with individuals. I would say look for anything that attaches you to life. Do you love a pet? Do you have a pet to care for? Do you have a child to care for? The one thing we know about life, the one thing that is constant is change. Something will change. Some moment will appear, and you can start to strategize. You may not be able to write it down because you're concerned about your abuser seeing what you write down. But finding anything that attaches you to life, anything that you care about. Know that when you're in a state of such despair that you would consider the best solution is you're leaving, you are not thinking clearly. You are distorted. Don't trust your own thoughts. On the best way to understand that your thoughts, if you're possible, if I can't write it down in those situations, but is to make your thoughts things, something that you can observe. Help to train yourself to observe your thoughts. But yet, escape an abusive situation usually requires some time of strategizing. And most people leave several times before they're gone.
Yeah.
They
Wow.
come back.
Thank you. I know I threw that curveball there, but you said it, so I went there. So here's my one final question, and then we're going to do the inspiration together. But what advice would you give to those who feel disillusioned or hopeless about the political outcome?
Yeah, that's a pervasive thought. I would say often amongst our younger people. I'm just not going to vote. What difference does my vote make, right? Educate yourself, like you've been doing for us, on the process, the civil process, so that you understand the impact your individual vote has on the electoral college decisions, right? So you can get good information to understand that you do matter. Your voice does matter. If you remove your voice, move yourself from the process, and the process is everything. It's everything. You can say you're not political, but everything is politics. The price you pay for your groceries, the price you pay for your gas, the price you pay for your property taxes, your rent, where you go to school, gun control. All of these things require a multitude of voices to move. You remove yourself from the multitude, it lessens the power of the possibility for change.
Yeah. Yvonne Gardner, thank you for that. You know I got to put my glasses on. Yvonne Gardner said, asking for a friend. Are you accepting clients? I know a few people are looking for help, and there's a waiting list.
There is yes, I am accepting a few clients, and always only by referral. So Yvonne, reach out to me through my website or some other way. I don't typically advertise my counseling services. I advertise the coaching services. Just a few. I'm not taking a lot of clinical people at this time, but yes, I am. I feel like if you find your way to me, I'm supposed to work with you. So yeah, you got my website up there, daviastevenson.com. You can send me an email. There's a way to reach out to me, and we can have a conversation. You're right. The good thing is a lot of people are taking seriously trying to get therapy. The tough thing is you got to wait. You got to get into folks. And sometimes it takes a minute to find the one that's right for you, because it's a relationship. And so I get those barriers for folks. You don't want to keep telling your story over and over and over again, but you're worth it.
Yeah. I agree with that. Thank you, Yvonne, for being vulnerable to even ask the question here. We appreciate that. So again, y'all, before we go into a word of inspiration, just remember we are not on the air next week. Make sure you have signed up for the Friday rundown. You really need to do that by 3 p.m. Eastern time today to make sure you are on the list because we schedule that to drop at 8:25 a.m. Eastern on Fridays. And all that, there's a lot of information. Tomorrow's going to be packed with a lot of information. Just scroll and take what you believe speaks to you. Just scroll through, because we've gotten feedback that sometimes it's too long. Well, sometimes we got to put it all out there. So just scroll and find what works for you and cool. Now, when you unsubscribe and then you want to subscribe back, the platform we use, there's normally a time period in between to make sure that we're not spamming you. So when you unsubscribe and subscribe back in this day, there's weeks in between. It's because they're making sure we're not spamming you. That's the software that we use. So just if you don't want it that day, just hit delete instead of unsubscribing, because then you may miss some things. The watch party with Reverend Derek Holmes and Union Grove Baptist Church will be on Tuesday night. That's September the 10th. Again, that link will be in, the Friday rundown. We will return back on the air Tuesday, September the 17th for National Voter Registration Day. We're going to be on location. Those of you in Columbus, Ohio, meet me down at Kennedy Cakes. List, somebody sponsored the coffee and the Danishes, and that rum cake is the bomb. So you might as well come get some at 7:05 a.m. And then Wednesday, September the 18th, we have Girls Right Now out of New York City talking about voter registration. And then I will be joining them on Thursday evening. But then Thursday during News in Motion in the morning, we have our high school ambassador, Lexi Williams, who will be talking about how to encourage young people to register to vote. She will not be 18 until May. And she is out here registering young people to vote now. So she can't even vote in this election. She's out there. Again, we have a lot coming your way as Everbloom is unfolding. I'm so excited about that. So with that, here's our word of inspiration. Davia has no idea that I'm getting ready to bring her in on this. But I want to go back and forth with one word of inspiration for people to survive this weekend in this political climate. So I'm going to start first and say persevere, taking that right out your book. Your turn, one word. We're just going to go back and forth.
Rest.
Hydrate.
Oxygenate. Take a walk, deep breathe, exercise.
Oh, you gave too many words.
I was just defining oxygenate.
Okay, read.
Read, yeah. Hug.
Ooh, that's a good one. Love.
Mm-hmm. Cry.
Swim.
Yeah. Laugh.
Oh, that's a good one too. Visit.
Pray.
Worship.
Sing.
Dance.
I like that one. I can leave it a dance. I've lost a word. How about walk? Walk your pet. Walk.
Renew.
Acknowledge.
Be seen.
Accept.
Digest.
Boundary up. 2 words. Sorry.
These are good. Revive.
Breathe.
Support.
Release.
And then I'll give this last one, listen. Y'all, all of these words here that you've heard, I'm sure 1 or 2 or 3 touched you. Embrace those words, take hold of those words, and do something about that with you. We're protecting our mental health. So you heard breathe, listen, renew, refresh, invite, walk, swim, love, give, grace. And I'm adding more words here. But you're important to you. You're important to this world. You're important to this community. You're important to somebody. You're important to God. So let's take time out. Turn off the television set. Stop scrolling for a moment. Take time for you. Rest. That was Davia's word. Rest. Rest, y'all. It's okay. It's okay. Hester said powerful words. Marion Jackson gave the suicide hotline 988. Now it's time for us to just breathe. You may be wondering why are we breaking? We just came back on. Because I planned something and I'm doing it. And I could have changed it. But no, I'm important. And it's all a part of Everbloom. I'm ever blooming. and it's okay. And with the debate coming up, it was like, that's all that's needed that week anyway, is to have that conversation and to watch that. But even if you're not able to watch that, don't. It's okay. Don't have FOMO, fear of missing out. Don't have that. Just say, well, that's just not for me. But hear me when I say this. There is life after this election, regardless who wins. There's still life. And we still have a responsibility and an obligation to live our life according to what God has called us and how he's called us to live in this season. So with that, Davia, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I know it was early. All she can say is, yeah.
I'm going to go exercise.
Make sure y'all get a copy of this today. It's on Amazon. A Month of Sundays, Elevating Self-Care to Soul Care by Davia Williams Stevenson. You don't want to miss out on this book. It is absolutely amazing. And I also believe it's life-changing. Y'all know what I say, everyone. Stay well. And remember, make some bold moves. We are out.
Emotion.